Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pardon Our Picks, where perfection is a work in progress. I'm your host, Sam. Our GM is off for the night. We hope his mouth feels better. Now, of course, welcome back to Football Jesus. He has risen once again. I don't know how many times he's going to do that.
Well, this time it took a little self-reflection, and I come with new gospel this week. We're going to have to get into that a little bit later.
Ooh, sounds titillating. And of course, speaking of titillating, the QB coach, Jessica, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. How are you? You seem a little spicy.
A little spicy.
Yeah. You just asked. Yeah, never mind.
Oh, I'm saying your opinions are titillating.
Mm-hmm. And I hope Tara feels better.
Indeed. Well, we are, of course, brought to you by Aardvark Concepts Incorporated, more than just a sign shop, and in too deep of Maryland. Check out their next show. You can check them out on Facebook for when their next show is. I haven't had a chance to figure that out yet. So, speaking of figuring things out, with the way last week has gone down, there's been talk of some of the quarterbacks being benched, i.e., Aaron Rodgers, by Woody Harrison, Allison, whatever the owner's name is.
The guy from Zombieland, yeah.
His name is Woody. I know
Harrison.
that. But
I did not know. The Jets.
He's not.
His name is Woody, though.
Oh.
He's got a best friend, Buzz. It's a whole thing.
Sure. Yeah. He talked about possibly benching Rodgers back in week 3 of the season, way before all of the stuff has happened in New York. And Rodgers is not even sure if he's coming back next year. I wonder, do we even want him back? Should he come back?
I mean, I'm back, risen from the dead once again. I'll take this one. I think the answer is yes. I mean, he used to have a very prolific career. He was talked about, somewhat in the same breath in the regular season as like the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings, things like that. And he went to New York. He played, 3 snaps last year, got hurt. Super unfortunate. So they give him an even better roster this year. They force out the coaches he doesn't like. They trade for the players he doesn't like. He's on an expiring contract that's costing way too much money, and he's not performing. Now, could that be age? Absolutely. Could he not be 100% from that Achilles injury? Absolutely. But I think in order to maintain him being that potential Hall of Fame quarterback, he has to come back for at least one more year, go play on another team somewhere, and show that he can still produce at the NFL level. Because what?
Sorry, Minnesota.
Oh, I mean, probably. Yeah. But he has to be able to show that he can produce at the NFL level, because right now he's making decisions that are worse than what Bryce Young is doing down in Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on the point that he should come back. I think he's going to progressively get worse as he's aging. As we've seen, his throws are terrible now. His accuracy is the same. Like, he looks really bad. And he's on pace to have his worst year of his career if he finishes the way he's going. And in my opinion, that's just going to continue this year, because he's been able to surround himself with the people that he wanted. And he's, the coach killer. People aren't going to want to work with him either. The sentiment in the locker room is not going to be great. The Jets are rebuilding, and I think they were on a good path, like starting, and then he's kind of like the pool water. So I feel like he really shouldn't. He should end before he makes it worse for himself and give himself a shot being remembered for good things.
Quite frankly, if he comes back next year, I think he should come back for an NFC North team, not named the Packers, i.e. Brett Favre many years ago. I think his problem is that his injury happened so late in his career. With Tom Brady, his leg injury happened in his 30s, but it was earlier in his 30s. He had he had the body, he had time to get himself together. The same thing with Peyton Manning with his neck injury. He got hurt in his 30s, but it was earlier 30s, so his body wasn't as degraded as Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He got hurt at 39. So at 40, most quarterbacks are done. I think this guy is pretty much done with his career as far as being a good quarterback. Now, could he come back next year? Sure. Will he be good? Probably not. I don't think that he has it in him anymore. I think that his peak was in Green Bay, and it's gone. Maybe if he hadn't hurt himself last year with the Jets, he might still be on a steady decline. But right now, he's just fallen off a cliff. I don't think he's got it. I think he should retire. And quite frankly, if they bring him back, I think the Jets are idiots. Speaking of idiots, let's see how this idiot is looking in the standings. And boom! A nice 8-5 record for Brady for the week.
Yeah, so look, I had time to reflect over my time off here, and I think that I'm conceding from the race here, and I am putting the full power of King Football Jesus behind the rightful heir to the throne, because every good kingdom needs a queen. So I am taking my crown off. It's across the table, or I'd get it now, and passing it through and placing it on Jess's head.
I'm a little bit worried that this thing has bad.
Hey, maybe it's a ploy. Maybe that's my way to knock you off your game for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, if I do terrible this week, we're undoing that.
No, you're keeping it. You cannot pass the proverbial crown again in one season. It's a one-season thing.
Every time I think I got to step up on her, I always take one step back, and I'm always right back where I was. But still not out of this race. You never know. I could pull it out in the end.
Anything's possible.
We got like 5 more weeks. I'm only down by 7. Anyway, let's take a look at our game of the week. Our first one, Brady, give us that gospel.
Well, kind of going with the theme of fighting for our lives here. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins going into Green Bay to play the Packers. And this game really stuck out to me because of how well Tua has been playing since he returned from injury. I mean, they're at 5-6. Their playoff chances are pretty much null and void at this point, but they still have an outside chance, a better chance, if you will. And Green Bay is playing, I think, above what any pundit would think they would be doing. I mean, they've been playing really well. Now, granted, last week they played a really banged up 49ers squad. That's kind of been their MO this entire year. But I'm looking at the stats now. The last 2 weeks for Tua, he has 605 pass yards, 7 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, 128.5 passer rating, which is almost perfect, and he's 2-0. He is literally on fire. Like, call the fire department. He's on fire. But they're going into Green Bay. We're getting into those cold weather months, and those cold weather months in Green Bay, you need to be able to run the ball well. And I think that they found a way to run the ball well without running the ball well in their tight end, Jonnu Smith. He is having a career resurgence in Miami and putting up better numbers than he's ever played, and giving Tua that short yardage completion to just keep the play going instead of having to look for Waddle or Hill 30 yards downfield every time. So I think it's going to be a really competitive game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I have Miami going into Lambeau and keeping their slim playoff chances alive just because of Jonnu Smith, and I think Devon Achane is going to have another big week this week.
So I definitely, it's tough because the stats don't lie about Tua's background in sub 40-degree weather. But because of that, and everybody keeps rubbing it in his face, he also is really hungry to disprove that. And he's going to do whatever he can to get that off of his record. So I really am like kind of torn between who to pick. I did Green Bay for now because, as a whole, we've been a little bit more consistent and their defense good, and like all around their team looks a bit better. But Tua does look really good. He's making passes. He threw for 4 touchdowns this week. He's extremely accurate, and he's making decisions. So this could be a last-minute call for me, but for now I am going with Green Bay.
Green Bay has been a surprise team, absolutely, going into this season. At 8-3, that entire division, even the Bears have been a bit of a surprise.
Surprisingly bad.
Yeah, the entire division is doing great. Miami does a few things great, and Tua, yes, he has problems in the cold, but you know what they don't have problems with? Running the ball. Chain, Mossert, they get the ball down the field. They run the ball very well. And I look at a pattern with the Green Bay Packers, with their defense. The teams that they've played in the last 4 or 5 weeks, other than the 49ers, who didn't have a quarterback, really, to help them out, so they were able to just key on the run. The Lions, great running game in that game. They ran the ball quite well. The Jaguars, the only reason why they were in that game is because they ran the ball. Same thing with the Texans, Joe Mixon. It's a pattern here. I think that may be the key for Miami to go into Lambeau on Thanksgiving night, get that turkey leg. I've got Miami winning this one, although this is going to be one of those games that could be a blowout going the other way. I'll go with Miami for now. Speaking of blowouts.
And with that running the ball, the shoulder temperatures.
What?
Oh. I said gross. But I was saying, with it being the colder weather, like the run game is gonna be kind of important for them to stick to if they can get it going, which seems like they'll be able.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs has been. Josh Jacobs has been pretty good for Green Bay. Just we'll get that out there. So
yeah.
So let's get into our next game of the week, and let's see what Jessica has drawn up for us. What you got?
So mine was just kind of one of those 2 teams that we expected to be better this year, a little bit at least. Seahawks versus the Jets, which the Seahawks have had some great weeks, but lately I feel like Geno Smith in particular has been pretty shaky. So I've been watching them do a little bit of a downward spiral, at least for him. And the New York just being in the news, they're always in the news. And they're going with, they have a horrible at this point. They're 2-3 at home. They're barely squeaking by when they win. But the, the funny stat that I actually thought was really good was that since they fired their head coach, they are allowing almost 10 more points, which, that goes back to the whole poison in the water thing. Like, around, he's going to be getting other people fired. But their passing defense is solid, and with Geno Smith being a little bit unsteady right now, I think they do great receivers. Metcalf is fantastic. He can catch anything, it seems like. But I'm going to go ahead and Seahawks, even though they're traveling to New York. I think it's going to be maybe 10 points for the Seahawks, but I actually think it'll be a little bit tougher for them than we would expect from the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I have a hard time picking certain teams based on how they play, and the Jets have become one of those teams this year. And yeah, Seattle's been on a downward spiral, but the last couple of weeks that I've watched them, I've seen them run the ball with more efficiency, I will say. Like they're doing more touches and they're getting more yards. And in complement to that, they're involving Jackson Smith and Jigba more than Tyler Lockett, which I think is the smart play, because Tyler Lockett is that aging receiver and Jackson Smith and Jigba is a second-year player who's still got the rest of his career. So him and Metcalf, I think, going forward are going to be a really good tandem. But yes, Geno Smith is looking shaky. I think that's more due to the poor offensive line play. But we'll see. Going forward, I have Seattle in this one. I don't have it being close. I have Seattle winning by at least 13 because at this point, unless Aaron Rodgers has found the fountain of youth on his ayahuasca trip, then I don't see a way where he can win another game this year.
The only reason I said they're not going to run away with it is because they are the number 2 offense, supposedly, or they had at one point the passing offense. But this is the number 2 passing defense. So it's like they're evenly matched strong suits. I don't know, but they are getting more run game.
I feel like the Jets are going to struggle in this one. Quite frankly, they have some injuries to not only their offensive line in Tyron Smith, but they also have an injury to their linebacking core in C.J. Mosley. It's a big part of their linebacking core right there. The Seahawks they've been good through the air. As far as yards go, I think Geno is in top 5, but he's not throwing a bunch of touchdown passes. The Seahawks defense has picked it up quite a bit in the past 2 weeks, but before that, they absolutely struggled against teams with good offenses. The Jets don't have that good offense. I think that we see another week of the Seattle Seahawks defense dominating the line of scrimmage. They're going to keep this Jets team to under 16 points, and I have the Seahawks scoring 24 this week. So winning by more than a touchdown. Now, we're going to get into a nice little treat. My game of the week, and I'm a little surprised that nobody went with the AFC North selection of the Steelers at the Bengals. The Bengals, talk about, holding on for dear life for a playoff spot. The Bengals doing what the Bengals do, starting slow in the season. The Steelers, with that big loss last week against the Browns, when they could have ran away with the division at this point, pretty much keeping it away from the Ravens at least for another couple weeks. The Bengals coming off their bye, it's big for them. They need this win. They desperately need this win. And I got them scoring big. 2 touchdowns for Chase, 2 touchdowns for the run game. I got the defense holding the Steelers to under 20. And I think that the Bengals get this game and show what they can do with a big, big win.
I'm actually surprised nobody game as well, but I'm similarly surprised nobody picked the Baltimore Philly game because it's going to be an amazing matchup. But I think the reason that I really picked this game is because I think everybody kind of knows what to expect here. I think everybody's on the same page. Cincinnati started coming out, starting late like they always do, and showing actually a really solid contender. Jamar Chase is one of a kind, and I think the Steelers are definitely going to struggle to defend him. I think the Bengals are going to do a good job keeping Najee Harris under wraps a little bit, or at least getting a little bit more than other teams have been able to. And the fact that they're coming off of a bye, which is exactly what I think the Steelers have gotten away with several wins that they didn't play that great. They're not as good as their record indicates, and I think this matchup isn't good as their record would entail. So I'm definitely going with the Bengals here. I think they're going to pull, and then the Ravens will, I guess, be a top division. Who has a wrapper?
It's snack time apparently in the Branham household.
Anyway, yes, I'm going Bengals here. They're gonna get at least it's gonna be by at least 13 points.
I agree. I'm going with the Bengals, but to give a alternative perspective of this, if the Steelers want a chance at winning this game, I think you have to put Justin Fields in at quarterback for at least 20 snaps. The last 2 games that the Steelers have played, they've gotten some really positive yardage out of just having the option of a quarterback who is mobile enough to get outside the pocket and score some yards with his legs and still has a good enough arm to complete passes. And we all know George Pickens, he's borderline OPI on everything, but he's open. He's got the talent. He just needs to keep himself within himself.
He's a pusher.
Yeah. And stay in the game, essentially. But I agree. I think the Bengals are going to win this, and I don't think it's going to be Jamar Chase. I think it's going to be T. Higgins that has the big day because, we've kind of seen what other teams do with Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson is they'll double cover him, but you can't double cover him and someone who I think is going to be a bona fide number one wide receiver next year when they hit free agency in T. Higgins. I think he's going to have a massive game this year, and I think the only way that the Steelers can stay in this game is to put Justin Fields in at quarterback, because if Russell Wilson's back there, Trey Hendrickson is going to increase his sack lead by 3.
Higgins should go to the Chargers. I'm saying it now.
Agreed.
That wouldn't be a bad spot for him. But I don't think that Justin Fields coming in as much is going to benefit them as much as you think it is. I think the only reason why they've had positive yards is because they're sprinkling it in minimally, and people are not covering for that. They're not accounting for that initially.
Well, for sure. But then you have the option of running him out there in place of a tight end, and you line them both up in the backfield. And what do?
You lose a spot for an actual player to be in there to make a play.
You still got to account for a potential run or potential moonball at that point.
Well,
and we've seen how many weeks now that Cincinnati's defense is susceptible to the pass, but also the run in certain situations. So if you get a certain look out there, it might be worth having more than one option out there, because Russell Wilson just has that dying quail of a ball that for some reason gets to the receivers and not the cornerbacks. So we'll see.
For now. All right, let's get into our quick pick'ems. Let's take a look at where we differed. And one person making the bold choice.
I'm pointing for the fences on that one. I got no inkling, but I'm pointing for the fences.
He thinks
I'm already out of it. I've already relinquished, so might as well just step back in the box and point towards the cheap seats and say, you know what? Black Friday is Raider Friday.
Okay.
Is it still Aiden O'Connell playing?
More than likely him or Desmond Ridder.
Oh, Desmond Ridder. Oh,
I don't – there's no shot that either of those quarterbacks put up 10 points, but on the random case that Mahomes gets a stomach bug and they have to start Carson Wentz, you heard it here first. I'm calling my shot.
If it's Carson Wentz, I'll switch too. But just kidding.
Carson Wentz? Is he actually still on that team?
He's their backup, yeah. He's Mahomes' backup.
Oh, Mahomes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's Desmond Ridder, because both Gardner and Aiden O'Connell are out. So,
calling my shot.
All right. And then, of course, a little surprised, I'm the only one that picked the Chargers to beat the Falcons.
Well, I mean, the Chargers, I didn't think they looked amazing this week against the Ravens, but then also Dobbins went out. They think it was precaution. He should be fine, but until that news is solid, I'm not even going to consider them.
Agreed. With Dobbins was the reason why that offense was able to drive the ball, and we saw as soon as he came out, their offense completely stalled. They had no run game, and the team was able to key in on the pass. And granted, Quentin Johnson had quite a few drops last night that should have been catches. Mm-hmm. But yes, unless J.K. Dobbins is playing, or if J.K. Dobbins is out, I'm sticking with Atlanta.
I still like my chances. All right. Tarek, unable to defend himself, the only person to pick both the Jets and the Saints.
The Rams-Saints game, that was a toss-up for me, honestly, because it seems like the Saints, knowing that their backs are up against the wall, they're doing what needs to be done, and they're coming off of a bye. So a healthy Alvin Kamara, a healthy Taysom Hill. Hopefully Derek Carr doesn't throw any more medicine balls at people's faces, or what do they call them, hospital balls? And when you throw it and you essentially lead the receiver into getting jacked up.
Oh, jeez.
What he's done to Olave. But yeah, that was a toss-up for me, and just kind of going with my gut. No real stats for anything for that one.
I feel like
I'm
Rams
starting to
should be able play.
realize I don't watch the Saints almost ever. Like every week we do this, and I'm like, I don't know what the Saints are up to, because even though I'll have 4 games on at a time, I'm either not paying them or they're not up on my screen.
I mean,
They're-
they're
the
not usually
Saints were
doing
the
things
first.
to be seen.
The Saints were the first team to really get hit by the injury bug this year, and that's kind of why I think, besides starting to play better teams and also getting hit with the injury bug, is why they've kind of hit a backslide. But
Yeah.
they're starting to get healthy again. They're coming off their bye week, and they're involving Taysom Hill, who is the Swiss Army knife of all players, more in the offense. So I think that gives them an extra wrinkle that, again, it's kind of hard to defend because he lines up. Is he going to run? Is he going to pass? Is he going to go out and catch the ball? Who knows? But I honestly, I may have just talked myself into switching that one. So
You go for it. You
you know what?
for
I'm
it.
doing
Tarek
it
hit 'em
live
all,
right
and
here. I am
Tarek-
switching my pick.
Tarek's gonna hit them all and just be right neck and neck with you, Jess. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, and then of course, clean sweep. Not a difference to be found here.
It only one here is the Eagles. And if Roquan Smith, I'm having a hard time using the English language tonight. If he plays, then I'm sticking with the Ravens. But if he is out, I will most likely be switching to the Eagles because we saw it against the Chargers. Dobbins did really good before he got injured. Barkley is going to have an even better week without
I
Roquan.
don't think he did really good, but also, who was the guy that filled in for him that had like a ton
Malik
of sacks?
Harrison.
Yeah, you said I have to pick or whatever. He did really well. Like that guy should get some more playtime in Roquan spot. But
I mean, his
Fine.
play time has been what it's been because he's been pretty bad. That's like his first career game was that game. So
whatever. Let's see if he's got more of it, because we can get more of that.
I'm not gonna lie. The one game I actually waffled on,
Carolina.
the Browns and
No.
The Browns? No, I was waffling on the Carolina game.
I feel like the Browns can upset them. I feel like the Browns might win that game.
Ooh.
I was going to say Carolina because they took Kansas City to the limit.
A solid run game is really powerful.
Yeah, and Nick Chubb is pretty good.
That's true.
But I mean, Bo Nix, he's if Jaden Daniels has one more bad week, then it's Bo Nix's rookie of the year to lose at that point because he's making all the right decisions since the Ravens game.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, gents, and everything in between. This has been week 13 for Pop. Thank you guys so much. As you know, it's Thanksgiving week, and we are so thankful for those of you that tune in and watch us every week. Hi, Mom. Thanks for your comment. Hope you're healing up well. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Let us know how bad of a fall off I have had this year. Praise our new queen, Jessica, and sing your praises unto her. But all in all, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Spend some time with your family. Tell them you're thankful for them. And as always, I'm King Football Jesus.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Sam. And you have a great football week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.